welcome. This article has been showing up on a fair few of the various gaming related channels. These are GQ's 100 greatest video games of all time ranked by experts. There are several problems with that, but we'll just skip that. We asked the world's greatest game developers, fair enough, streamers, problematic, directors, writers, and more. Directors, writers, I imagine directors, writers of video games, which is fair enough. The and more is also potentially slightly problematic. I'm gonna make some assumptions. Assumption number one for me is the streamers part means it's highly likely that most of these games focus on twitchy gameplayness and less on maybe, storytelling and narrative and such, which is kind of like my bag. Assumption number two is considering this image and what is generally popular, I think I might maybe have played 20 to 25 titles out of all of them. Maybe. We'll see. I doubt it's many, to be honest. The other assumption, which isn't necessarily an assumption, is something that is true, is that pretty much almost any and all console titles on this list will be more or less unknown to me for reasons that I've gone through and have constantly been going through ever since my channel exists. And finally, I have a couple of titles on this list of games I think definitely are part of the 100 greatest video games of all time. If I get to the end of the list and I'm still alive, I will reveal what my list is and we'll see if I got any of them. Thing is, if there's not at least a couple of games off of this list, then this isn't a list of the 100 greatest video games of all time. Let us begin. 100. Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Slightly unexpected start to this one. Now, interestingly enough, you would think, anyone who's been watching my channel would think that something that is basically very RPG focused and also Star Wars would be a slam dunk for yours truly. Very incorrect actually of you to assume that. Not really. It would be a good assumption, but me and Star Wars, we have a very interesting relationship. Like, I'm a fan of the movie, the cinema movie. Ever since I was a child, I really enjoyed and I still enjoy the movies, the cinema, I was never actually really interested in anything else but that. Not interested in any of the TV series, the animations, sure as shit, not interested in anything that's been done lately. So that's something that kinda carried on into the video game realm. For some reason, as far as I'm concerned, I was always satisfied with whatever was happening in the movies, and I never really thought, oh yeah, I'm sort of super interested in where Darth Vader came from or some shit like that. Not really. Like, George gave us that, but know how that we know how that one went. Anyway, but I do have friends. I've had a lot of friends throughout the years, and still currently, who have played KOTOR, both 1 and 2, and they have said, and I trust them when they say that these are good games. Mainly, I gotta be honest, it's the Star Wars theme that kept me and still keeps me away from ever playing them. Rez, I have no idea. Dreamcast, PlayStation 2. See, this is why I have no idea. Not only do I have no idea of this game, I have never even heard of it. And, honestly, I have heard of a fair bit of console games. That is one of the main stuff, one of the main things I kinda generally watch when it comes to gaming content on YouTube. I try to fill in my knowledge gaps of gaming history, and that generally pertains to console games. Never heard of this. I need Age of Empires 2, Age of Kings. Unexpected. I did not expect Age of Empires 2 or even 1 to be on this list, even if it still is a really good game, especially in my neck of the woods. I am pleasantly surprised to find Age of Empires 2, Age of Kings. Between you and me, I think I still prefer with the first one, but that's literally just because of nostalgia purposes, and the 2 was, better, looked better, bigger, smoother. The Return of the Obra Dinn. Now, this I think it still is something of an indie hit that again, you'd think I would have played, since it focuses a lot. It's very narrative focused, which again, so my first assumption might be blown out of the water. See what I did there? Because it's about a ship. Anyway, the visuals were really interesting. I saw things of how the game worked, but for whatever reason, something didn't click for me to get it. Basically, I'm happy to see it's here. I do remember it being streamed heavily at the time, so maybe that's what put me off it. If something has too much hype, I'll just not. 96 Super Mario Brothers on 96. Okay, surprisingly surprised. This one definitely had to be here somewhere. I'm surprised it's not in the top 20, let's say. This kind of makes me a bit trepidatious about what is in the top 20. But yeah, absolutely. Like I said earlier, like if it's a console game, I most likely have not played it. Even I played Super Mario Brothers. The NES was basically the only console I had growing up, and it was a Famicom clone. It's a fun game. One of the, if not the quintessential platformers. And as we've seen recently, very, very recently with that movie, it's still supremely popular with the kiddies as well. So, Ultima Underworld, the Stygian Abyss, as one of the voice. Does he say Stygian? It's Stygian. It should be Stygian, I think. But Stygian, I think, is in one of the audio thingies. So anyway, Ultima Underworld, the Stygian Abyss. I'm also surprised to see this here, although my friend Unicom said that this the screenshot is actually from Ultima Underworld 2. I think he's right. I played Ultima Underworld 1 a long time ago. I didn't play a lot of it because at the time I wasn't into it per se, but I do remember the compass not looking like this. So I think he's super right. I think this is actually a screenshot of Ultima Underworld 2. You know, props for having the Ultima Underworld, the Stygian Abyss in the list. Maybe less props, maybe more, maybe more research. I'm gonna go on. I trust Unicom with this one, and my very vague memory. Okami. I don't know how you pronounce most Japanese stuff. I actually have this game. I have the HD remake of this game. Because I remember it being pretty cool. I remember seeing footage of it at release or around its release. I think it was one of those things that I had in the back of my mind that I would enjoy playing. And I do have the Okami HD thing somewhere. I think it's on PC. It should be on PC because I have it on PC, I imagine. But I remember this being pretty big at the time, so it must have been large enough for it to punch into the more mainstreamy sort of gaming channels, since I'm aware of it. Fable 2. I have never played any of the Fables. Again, granted, this is on Xbox 360, it says. Pretty sure maybe there's some Fables on PC. I don't know nothing about it. I do know the series is quite long. I'm pretty sure there's at least 3 of them. And one of them, maybe the dog was important. Don't know a lot about a lot of stuff, especially console. Mass Effect. I imagine it should have been on the list, just by sheer size of how popular it is. I kind of have the same thing. I kind of had the same thing with Mass Effect that I did with some other stuff, as in it was overly hyped to me from the beginning. It was never really, I was never sold on the game. I've had friends who played it and quite obsessed with it and replayed it to get some particular fucking ending so they can transport their history to the second game and shit like that. I couldn't give less of a fuck about Mass Effect or anything that had to do with it. It was never my bag, which again, you would think it should be because it's sci-fi. From what I understand, it's RPG-ish to a certain degree, and there's also tactical-ish combat, so it has, sometimes you can have the components of something you like, but the finished product is meh. And I'm not saying the game is bad, it could be a great game, it was just not something that ever appealed to me. Let's just put it like that. It never really appealed to me. GTA 4? Okay, fair enough, I stopped playing after San Andreas. So I don't really have an opinion on this one, because when it did come out, it had some crazy, for PC at least, it had some crazy graphics requirements that my video card at the time could not do. So I didn't play it. But thinking if I think back to the GTA series, 4 isn't the one that stands out as far as I'm concerned. Maybe there's some other ones getting closer to, maybe there's a couple of other ones after this one. I'm pretty sure that 5 is way more popular than this one ever was. So I don't know. Super Mario Kart, never played it. Hitman World of Assassination. Now Hitman is one of those series that, again, I've had friends, and I still have friends who played maybe all of them, maybe some of them, maybe most of them. They always seem to enjoy it, but again, was never something that it never really had anything for me to latch onto. For some reason, there's things that subjectively you just don't click with. It's just like there's people you just don't like for whatever reason. You just don't like, as they say, the cut of their jib. There's some games, there's some pieces of art, which can apply to music and movies and books and whatnot, that they just don't appeal, they just don't interest you, regardless of how good they are or how appreciated they are. And Hitman is another one of those series that I never really got into, although I might give them a try, give one of them a try sooner or later. Yeah, Hitman, I'm not surprised to see something, to see a Hitman, at least one, in this list. I have not heard of World of Assassination. I know there's like a Hitman 1, 2, and 3 and whatnot, and I think there's one with killer nuns, if I'm not crazy, or was that just an anime I watched once? The Last Guardian. See, this is a console game that I've heard of, just because I remember it. I think it was supposed to come out at a certain point for like one generation of consoles, but then it skipped an entire next generation of consoles and then it came out. Like, I don't know, that's the memory, that's like the only sort of thing I remember seeing some trailers for it and it looked crazy cool. Hungry, oh okay, 9-year development cycle. Okay, so I'm not completely crazy. I did remember, what I remembered is that I used to see news about this title off and on, and like, yeah, but I think it looked cool at the very least. And it says here, another unforgettable adventure from the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus creator. I have also heard of Shadow of the Colossus, never played it, but I've heard of it. Super Mario Odyssey on the Switch. Well, this is I imagine a relatively new one. Again, me, consoles, Mario especially, woof, not for not in my general Nintendo in general, not my stuff. Oh shit, Civilization 5. Well now, surprise. Wait, why does it say just 2 strategy games made our list? Is this a fucking joke? Is the other strategy game Age of Empires 2? Have we already seen all of the strategy games in the top 100 games of all time? Because I gotta be honest, I have several strategy games on my list. So Civilization 5 is one of the, I've played Civilization 5 the most of the recent Civilizations, and I played it quite a lot to be honest, at release 2010, so around in 2010-ish and afterwards, and I did enjoy it quite a bit. I've previously played the Civilization title I played the most is Civilization 2. Ayo old schoolers, and I played a fair bit of 3, tiniest bit of 4. I really didn't, 3 and 4 didn't, I did not like, they jumped towards more 3D and they were trying some stuff. They didn't click with me, they really didn't. Civilization 5 though, I do remember enjoying quite a bit and playing a fair bit. Well, Final Fantasy IV, A Realm Reborn, fuck if I know what the fuck any of these are about. This is not my territory. My awareness of the Final Fantasy series boils down to, I played a little bit of 7 once it was available on PC. So I played that a bit. I played it up until a moment where I just didn't save, and I had lost like a bunch of hours of playtime, and I am not down with that shit anymore. I don't have. If I would have played it when I was 14 and I had time to fuck up, fair enough, wouldn't have mattered. But playing that sort of all or nothing approach as you get older, not that much more fun. And as for these ones, I got no idea. I have some awareness that 8 is, and most of my knowledge of the Final Fantasies comes from Spoonie's videos, by the way. So of the other I think it was 8, and then he did X and X2. No one seems to touch 9 for whatever reason, which again I don't know. Yeah, I'm much more likely to maybe play one of the older ones if I ever get around to playing any of the Final Fantasy ones. Shenmue. I happen to have seen a video on this, and I was very interested in finding. If I remember correctly, like what I got from the video is that this title was very pioneering in a bunch of areas, kind of sort of open worldness or storytelling or simulating characters, like, you know, life and shit like that. Like, from what I remember, it was a very pioneering title. BioShock Infinite. I guess, I don't know. I played BioShock 1 and I quite enjoyed it. Never played 2, and I've obviously, I mean, not obviously, but I didn't get to this one. I have no opinion on this one. I have an opinion on the first one for sure. But if Infinite made it here, is Infinite better than the first one? We'll see. If the first one is later on in the list, then no. And if it's not, then I guess yes. Yeah, maybe, no. Dragon Age Origins. This is something I have played and I have an opinion on. I remember enjoying it. I played it at release, and I also played its expansion, which, if recent physical collecting proves me right, is called The Awakening. So I played the expansion as well, and I remember enjoying it, but still feeling a little bit maybe it was a good game. It's a good game, and it did a lot of cool stuff with like the relationship building and whatnot. But I do think, if I remember clearly, I do remember feeling a little bit limited by the skill trees, which is fair enough. Each gaming system, each game will have its own system and systems and whatnot and mechanics, and it worked well for the game, if I remember correctly. But I do remember I think in the back of my mind I maybe wanted to do a little bit more with the characters. I remember some amount of interactability between skills and abilities existed. Like, I remember you could freeze opponents with like magic, with a spell, and then bash them with the pommel of a warrior, fighter, whatever sword, and then that would make a different amount of more damage. Like, I remember that, and that was pretty cool, especially for the time. But again, unfortunately, I enjoyed it quite a bit, but not a lot, so that I would play any of the subsequent ones, because the subsequent ones always felt to me maybe a bit more clickety clackety. Fortnite. I mean, okay, it's definitely been a a phenomenon. Does it say here? Culture mashup machine? No. It's all of these words are words I do not enjoy. But yeah, it's been really big. I played quite a fair bit of PUBG, to be honest, but that had a slightly different sort of approach and gameplay focus than Fortnite did, or still does. Good on them for like hitting that sweet spot of exploiting the youngins. I mean, it definitely has to be there, even if it's not for me. There is most titles, most mainstream titles are definitely not for me, considering what I do on this channel. But yeah, I would, and I never actually tried playing it, I'll be honest. I watched videos and I was like, yep, not for me. What I did try to play, and I have played a fair bit, I played on and off, is Apex Legends. That's my shooty MMO choice when I'm in the mood for that, but I haven't played it in quite a while. Firewatch, well, hello. This is again, so my assumption was there won't be a lot of story focused stuff, but this one, if I remember correctly, is quite narrative and story focused. So this is interesting. Also one other, if I remember, pretty indie sort of event title. Yes, as a spiritual succession, the Valley of the Gods. I remember seeing a trailer for this game, and I was actually wondering about it randomly like a couple of weeks ago. So apparently it's on hold. Anyway, Tetris Effect. I'm probably the biggest fan of Tetris. I'm not really the biggest fan. I'm a big fan of Tetris. I've never heard of this. What is this? PlayStation 4. This might explain shit. Take one of the most iconic 2D games of all time. I hope the one of the most iconic 2D games of all time is on this list later on, and add music. Fair enough. Designed by Rez Mastermind. Oh, the guy who did the earlier one. Okay. Have you busting blocks to the beat while vivid colors explode off the screen. A truly transcendent experience in virtual reality. So is this in VR? I don't know if it is in VR. Also, this just sounds like a mushroom trip, an LSD trip. Although making or busting blocks, if it is what I think to the beat means, maybe you have to time it to a beat. So maybe it combines this with some shit like Beat Saber or Guitar Hero or a rhythm game. I can see that sort of working, like Tetris on a beat would bring some new shit into it. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater DOS. Believe it or not, okay, this one says PlayStation. I did play one or two of the Tony Hawks, but obviously the things on PC. I played them at a friend's house, and they were fun. Even if I have fuck all in common with skateboarding, or really with doing any sort of physical activity sport type thing. Okay, no, that's lying. I do like to cycle and occasionally, maybe swim, so fair enough. But you know, everyone talks about, and everyone should talk about, the importance that the Tony Hawk games had to the music scene, and what initially sort of was underground, what was not mainstream completely music, and then kind of like quickly became mainstream music at around the 2000s, and I think it is in part to stuff like the Tony Hawk games. Secret of Monkey Island. Surprise, surprise, yes, this should definitely be on such a list. I got nothing on it. I can't, like, it's a great game. You can, whether you play it in the in its original pixel art form, or if you play the remake. I played both. I played the original pixel art version a long time ago, and then I also played the remake when that was released, and that's cool as well. So this is definitely a classic of the point-and-click adventure genre. I'm curious if there's gonna be some other major titles from point-and-clicks further down. This gives me hope, but could also not. Could also not be some other shit. We'll see. Plus, recently we got what we never thought we would get, and that is the third Monkey Island title from Ron Gilbert, who was the originating creator of the first two Monkey Islands. So we basically now have a Monkey Island multiverse. Pokemon Gold and Silver. Played no Pokemon games, none, because Pokemon was a little bit after my time. Although I think I would have enjoyed it, to be honest. It's basically an RPG and whatnot, with the Pokemon skin on it. And I think it most likely, the closest thing in my head is Magic the Gathering, basically. Pokemon fair enough. You have fun, you crazy kids. Metroid Prime, yet another thing I have never played. None of the Metroid games. But hey, if you enjoy it, more power to you. Undertale. This is something I need to play. This is something that I should actually play. It's also interesting that the blurb... Okay, first of all, the amount of text about each game is... Frugal isn't a correct word for it. Like at least something about the proper game, because maybe some of the people reading this shit have no idea what the fuck Undertale is, nor do they know who Matt Pat is, nor do they give a shit about Pope Francis. You see my point here? That might just be me. But anyway, Undertale is, if I remember correctly, it's an indie RPG, pixel art, 8-bit-ish, where you don't have to solve conflicts by fighting necessarily. It's Undertale. Underrail is a different, okay. Yeah, it's Underrail, different RPG, where conflict is a different suggestion. Final Fantasy VI, so there are other Final Fantasies on this one, on the SNES. Yeah, unfortunately, like I said earlier, I have never really played any of these except for 7, so I have about nothing to say about it. Enjoy it, yes. I understand the series' importance in gaming history in general. That doesn't necessarily mean that I couldn't have played everything, you know. Yakuza 0, 2015. I've seen this title relatively recently mentioned. I don't know why, but I've seen it recently mentioned, and I know there is a Yakuza series, but again, since it's console based, not something that I got into. Although I remember I read an article once where the reporter actually got some actual Yakuza dudes to play one of the Yakuza games. Can't really tell you which one. And they said that it's the one they were playing, they said it's fairly accurate. So that's cool. There's not that much sugarcoating, I think. Oh, fuck. This is harsh. Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare it's Call of Duty 4. So this does not give me a lot of hope for the rest of the list. That being said, I did play one of these things. I think I played this one, but it was in multiplayer with some friends of mine on a console, so there was that. But no, I think I played one of these on PC maybe at a certain point, but I can't remember which one. I remember it being short. Me and first-person shooters, not the biggest of histories, unfortunately. This does make me wonder if the original Medal of Honor is somewhere here, because that's one I did play and I did enjoy. Left 4 Dead 2. Now, I did play the first Left 4 Dead and enjoyed it. I guess 2 is fine as well. I'm not sure if I ever played 2, to be honest. 2009? No, I don't think I played it, but I did play the original, and I think it's fair enough. I think it's a fair enough thing to be on this list. Maybe there's some better shit out there, but maybe on the other hand there is not. Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Do I need to repeat myself? Hopefully not. Although I think this is one of those, like, from my very basic awareness of the series, I think this is one of the darkest, if not the darkest, maybe. Is this the one where the world is ending, or is that a different one? I don't know. But in one of them, the world is ending and you constantly have to go back in time and do some shit, maybe. Thief, the Dark Project. Well, now, I've been mentioning games that have never appealed to me and that are popular with my friends. Well, this is a game that did appeal to me and is popular, has been popular with a fair bit of number of my friends, but I never got around to playing it. So there's a difference. This one I wanted to play, never got around to. I might get around to it soon, let's say. I do plan on playing Thief, the Dark Project, because this is something that that does appeal to me. Stealth, weird medieval setting. You have a weird mechanical eye or some shit, if I remember correctly. Arrows that shoot moss. Are those in this one? Or is that in Thief 2? I don't know. Oh, fuck me, Legend of Zelda again, Wind Waker. Sure. Okay. Follow New Vegas 66. So I'm glad Follow New Vegas is here. That's a good thing. I don't know what to do about its position. I don't know what to think about its position, to be honest, because it does it does depend a lot on how you look at it. And I've done like a 2 hour and 50-minute deep dive into the game and its expansions, and I do talk about it. Like, if you were around on release, you remember the release was shitastic. The game would just not work for months. It would crash, it would have all kinds of manner of bugs. Later on we found out why, just because Obsidian really didn't have enough time to make it properly, to do it. It's a great thing that it's here. It's the closest 3D Fallout to the original Fallouts. That being said, I doubt the original Fallouts are on this list, because it's incredible to me and disheartening at the same time to see people not that much younger than me, fair enough, younger by like a decade or so. So people in their mid-20s and onwards, considering that the Fallout series starts with Fallout 3. So yeah, it's difficult. It's an interesting and difficult sort of thing to try to wrap my head around. GoldenEye 007. Had no contact with this, obviously. It's on an N64. I have become aware of it ever since internet was a thing, and I became aware of how important it was to a lot of people. Not something I ever played, but hey, I'm glad it was there for those people to enjoy at the time. And understand this correctly, this was another pioneer of like multi-screen playing, multiplayer. And then other things would come up like Halo and then the Call of Duties and shit like that. So a pioneer basically, from what I understand. Persona 5. This is a game I see mentioned, and this series in general I see mentioned quite a bit. Obviously, since it's console based, I have no clue what the fuck it's about, but I do think it's turn-based party sort of RPG sort of thing. So yeah, good, have fun, go with it. I got nothing. I know several people who mention it occasionally. I've seen it mentioned in a very positive light, so I'm gonna go with that. The Sims 2, fair enough, yet again. Now, I did play the first Sims. I think everyone has played at least one Sims, and for me it was just a little bit, wasn't really my thing. But when the first Sims came out, it was everywhere. It was truly an industry-wide phenomenon that touched basically anyone with a capable computer. So everyone was playing Sims, regardless whether or not they were into Sims or would be into Sims anyway. Now, why Sims 2 here? Probably because I think this was the first one that came with a shit ton of expansions afterwards. I'm not sure. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Yay. Not really. I've only played the first Castlevania, and I've never actually even played it during my NES Famiclone era. I have okay, this is interesting. So growing up in Eastern Europe meant that besides the fact that I was born under a communist regime, once that stopped from the very end of 1989 and from the 90s onwards, we had mainly very old tech. And for at least I'm gonna say the first half of the 90s and even up until towards the end of the 90s, let's say, most of the tech that most people could afford, keep in mind, could afford, was old as shit as far as the West was concerned. So the Famiclone was a thing in Romania up until at the very least 97, 98, even afterward. Hell, the Atari, whichever one, was a thing up until the mid 90s and onwards as well. So the Atari clones in Romania, they were called Rambo games. I had Rambo on it. Anyway, that's not what I want to say. What I want to say is that we had access to knockoff games, obviously, but some titles never made it. At least they didn't make it to my town, and I didn't live in like the capital city. Obviously had access to way more shit. I lived in a smaller town, and I had access to a fair bit of shit, but not like the capital. So in my town, I had never heard of Castlevania, Legend of Zelda, Metroid up until after 2004. which is when I got broadband internet, and I could start researching stuff. So I had never heard of any of these things up until then. So also no Final Fantasies either. So that's another reason why I have only played the first one, and I didn't even play it way back when. I played it like, I don't know, 15 years ago on an emulator. So from what I hear, Symphony of the Night is a cool game. I don't know. I really do not know. I've only heard that it's good. Oh, GTA 3. Okay, so we got more GTAs. I imagine the one I'm thinking of is later on. GTA 3 is a little bit, I kind of skipped it, this one, but Vice City is where it was for me and my friends. We played a lot of Vice City. So yeah, that's the one that I would have placed on this list. And GTA 1, oddly enough, not 2. I re-reviewed 2 a couple of years ago. Not fun anymore for me. I imagine GTA 5 is later on. Super Metroid, we just talked about this. I got no idea. Fallout 3. Okay, now we're having issues. You cannot place Fallout 3 above New Vegas. That's a negatory. That's a bad. You're gonna have a bad time. There's no. It has its place in the overall chronology of gaming. True. It did do a lot to introduce a lot of people to Fallout, to the Fallout universe. Also true. It is not better in any way, shape, or form than New Vegas. The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. I've never played this. Elder Scrolls shit I've played is Skyrim. I played it for a while, but I got bored of it. Now, Oblivion isn't, I imagine, as far as I know, and I have friends who play these things, not necessarily me. Most of my friends who like the Elder Scrolls really like Morrowind. They are into Morrowind a whole lot. They generally don't have a lot of good stuff to say about Oblivion or Daggerfall either. Arena almost never comes into the discussion. Oblivion, maybe Morrowind is later on. I don't know. I know so this is why, like, some of the stuff I say and think is basically through the lens of my friends whom I trust when it comes to these things. And my friends, who are cooler than your friends, say Morrowind is the better one. Final Fantasy 9. Remember I said for some reason Final Fantasy 9 tends to be generally skipped as far as, general zeitgeist is concerned. It's not, probably it was such an odd shift from 8 that it's just a weird contrast, and that's why maybe people don't fuck with it as much as with the other ones. Inside, I don't know what so it's not aesthetic and only as I kept in deeply. I remember Limbo. I played Limbo. I don't really remember Inside, to be honest. There were a fair bit of these back then, so probably that's why. I actually don't remember Inside at all. I remember Limbo, I repeat, play that a bit, just only a bit. I like indie games, but not everything, obviously. Anywho, Hollow Knight. Another pretty popular indie game, which I saw it, which again was a little bit maybe too streamed, too hyped for me to care. But it does look cool. I think it's a sort of 2D-ish, Demon Soul-ish sort of thing. Dark Souls, it says Dark Souls meets Metroidvania. It always looked cool. I enjoyed the cartoon aesthetics. I think there's some other titles that it inspired, or maybe they were before at the same time. I'm thinking of Blasphemous, something I played. I played the Blasphemous as well, but something I played a bit more is called Dark Devotion, which is a 2D pixel art Demon Souls type of thing. So I'm thinking of those much more so. Hey, Ico! It was earlierly mentioned, but again, unfortunately, since it was on PlayStation, never really played it. Who like these blurbs are? I don't know who they're supposed to appeal to be honest. Like, granted, this is from GQ, so maybe they're meant to appeal to like the uber mainstream human, like the casual gamer I was saying, who like played video games in the up until their late teens. Maybe that's who. I don't know. It's definitely not for people who make gaming, for whom gaming is a part of who they are. Dishonored DOS, interesting choice. I don't know if I don't know what the consensus is between the two Dishonored, because I haven't played any of them. Although you think I should have, but for some reason never did. So I don't know. I really don't know if this one should have been here or the first one. I don't know, people enjoy them. I'm not saying they're bad games or anything, just not something I ever was into. Although they do look like Thief on crack, and I do want to play Thief, but I think Thief is way more stealthier than these ones were. Half-Life. Oh, Half-Life. Half-Life definitely has to be here, just by sheer weight. But you see, I have some controversial opinions on Half-Life. I did not necessarily like it. Not because it wasn't good or cool or anything, I was just never impressed. And I played it at release, or close to release, and I was just not that impressed. And I enjoyed sort of playing it, like I could see the effort and attention, at least especially at the first part, where it was tense and cool, and you only had like the crowbar and shit, and you didn't understand what was happening, and then you had the puzzles and the pushing and the whatnot. It never really appealed to me. I don't know. Sometimes I'm broken. sometimes my opinions, like saying Indiana Jones: The Fate of Atlantis is frustrating from a modern perspective, proved to be highly controversial. But again, like that doesn't stop anyone. Like, I understand why. I understand people enjoy it. I don't, or liked it. I don't understand why. That's the difference there. Final Fantasy X, again, don't care. Spelunky, yes, I remember this. I didn't play it, but I remember it being a lot. I remember it being very talked about at the time. Alongside Fez, Binding of Isaac, Naughty. Oh my god, is it just? Am I the only one who doesn't like the 2000s being called Naughties? I'm honestly curious here. I think it's just a British thing to call it the Naughties. Just call them the 2000s. That might just be me and my weirdness with words. Stardew Valley. Now, this game. I will avoid playing something like Stardew Valley because I've played things similar to Stardew Valley, and they were very close to absorbing my entire existence. This is the type of shit that I need to avoid for my own well-being, and it's a great game. I'm pretty sure it's a great game. I played things very similar to it. I played Forager. It's kind of like that, but granted, in this one, if I remember correctly, it also has relationships and shit like that, so whatever. This is the type of game that I would get sucked into. This, something like Stellaris, basically any scopy fucking 4X, I kind of need to avoid, just because I want to play other shit, and my channel kind of centered on playing other shit. GTA 5, I thought, I would have thought this would be higher than fucking GTA 4 for certain. I haven't played this one because, again, lost interest in the series after San Andreas, but I'm pretty sure this one is way more popular than 4, is what I was saying. God of War, I don't know what to tell you. I guess the series proved to have a lot of staying power, which says something about it. I don't know what it says about it, because Assassin's Creed made a shit ton of titles as well, and I fucking disliked the shit out of that first game. I loathed that first game. Never played any of the God of Wars, because mainly console game. From what I gather, it just did the recipe and polished the recipe very well of the third person hacky, schmacky, slashy, bashy shit. Which, hey, I've played Wolverine X-Men Origins. That game was fun as hell. And if God of War did what that one did, and maybe even better, I understand it. Destiny, no carry. I no care. I no care about Destiny at all. I no care about Destiny. I don't care about fucking Halo. Not for me. See, Halo 3. Fuck it. Oh, okay, so Morrowind is later. See? Oh man, this means fucking Skyrim is in the top 10, right? I think this means Skyrim is in the top 10. Shit. But as I was saying, Morrowind, from what I understand from my friends who play it, has so many mods, so many crazy amount of mods. And also the game, from what I understand, the game is set in this Morrowind is this part of the Elder Scrolls world of Tamriel that is just a little bit slightly different than the other ones, and it has its own lore and mythos and interesting shit that happened there and happens there, and also mods. Nier Automata. I am surprised to I was surprised to find out that this was actually on PC as well. In all of the coverage I have ever seen about this game, I don't think I ever saw it mentioned being playable on PC. I've just literally last week I was researching some stuff and I found out this is on PC, because it doesn't necessarily look like the type of shit that would normally be on PC, so there's that as well. Also, it's an ARPG, which isn't necessarily my bag of shit, but I will play some from time to time if they're good. I hear it has apparently an interesting story. Pretty sure that's helped by the arguably scantily clad protagonist. So I don't know, I doubt I'll ever get to it, because again, it's not really the type of stuff I normally play, but I do know a lot of people enjoy it, and have enjoyed it for a while. Yeah, I think maybe it might be a bit too new to be on a top 100 list, but we'll see, babe. If people still talk about it in 20 years, then the list is right. Something that people have been talking about for at least 20 years is definitely Chrono Trigger, which again, never played, but I have heard and seen so much about the game that I feel zero compulsion to play it. Again, I have this thing. If something is, in my mind, too overly hyped, I lose any and all interest in it. So but I understand it's good, and I understand it did a lot of interesting things with its sort of time warpy mechanics and whatnot, but yeah, I could never really play it, and I most likely never will. Oh shit, the original Sims is on here as well, Unicom. Well now, the act of mating. Yeah, this one I actually played. I think maybe the first, I would possibly not place the second one here, but okay, so let's if I were to make a list like this, I would not put several titles from the same series on the list. Now, I know I'm saying this and having just made an iceberg, city building iceberg, where I did place a lot of them, but the city building iceberg isn't the best games of all time. This is a separate sort of list, and the way I would do it, and the way I will do it when I will make upcoming listicles, is when I reach a particular thing, I will say something series, or The Sims / Sims 2, 3, 4, or whatever the fuck. I don't think it's fair to the non-serialized titles that might be better, or that could get a place on a list, to have fucking seven Final Fantasies when you could have some other shit in there that it is equally or even better. Same with The Sims. You could just have The Sims, just the original one. You don't need The Sims 2. There was such a ginormous difference between the two that you kind of need to have it, which you would do with so you definitely didn't have to have both Fallout 3 and New Vegas. You should have just, first of all, should have just had New Vegas, but you should have just placed one of them and just all 3D Fallouts done. Tangent aside, The Sims 1, earth-shatteringly, breakingly game at the time. Super Mario Galaxy, cool, have fun. What Remains of Edith Finch? Well now, surprising to find it, but I do remember this being streamed a lot, so I think this is where the streamer shit comes in. Ooh, Hades. I only recently played Hades a little bit, and when I say recently, I mean literally 3 weeks ago. I played it a little bit at a friend's house, and I enjoyed it. It's a cool game. It's a great roguelike, looks nice. Supergiant Games, big fan of theirs since Bastion, which I have a video dedicated to. Is it? So I also have this series called Is It a Classic, where I look at games and consider whether or not they're classics, and I have my own sort of requirements and whether or not they're objective classics or there can be subjective classics, there's definitely a difference between the two. My main sort of thing is a game has to be at least 10 years old at the time of analysis. Time needs to have passed. A lot of time needs to have passed in order for us as humans to be able to more clearly understand and analyze both the content of a piece of art as well as the results, the effect, the aftermath of that same piece of art. So something that was released literally 3 years ago, it's simply too new to make any sort of this type of thing, this type of postulation about. Could it get there? Sure. Is Hades someone's subjective classic? Absolutely. Modern classic? Absolutely. I have my own. I think I'll make a video with a bit more titles on modern subjective modern classics. So is Hades there? Definitely. Could it be? Should it be on one of these lists? Not yet. It could have been on the best 100 games in the past 5 years. Sure. On this sort of shit, regardless of how good the game is, it's too new. Silent Hill 2. Unfortunately, well, horror games, I have a weird history. I enjoy the idea, but I rarely enjoy the execution. Now, Silent Hill and Resident Evil and whatever the fuck, Hills Have Eyes, whatnot, I don't know. Is that a movie or is that a game? These being on consoles, I understand why they did great on consoles, and I think if I had the console, I think I would have played it back then, and that's fair enough, and that's cool. I have played some horror-tinged games on PC, and I have a couple, and I have reviewed a couple, but again, they need to be kind of within my genre interest, which is generally the only things that can be horror is RPGs. And I have played a few, and I have a couple, and they do stand out, but the execution is different. Obviously, it's a different genre, and very few fucking jump scares in an RPG. Unfortunately, Silent Hill or Alone in the Dark never really my sort of stuff. I did play a little bit of the first Alone in the Dark, which was just difficult to understand back then. But I understand. I see their appeal and whatnot. Just never could really click for me. 37. Super Mario Brothers 3. Interestingly enough, see, it says some shit here. It doesn't mention that the game was introduced during the not so wildly successful movie The Wizard, which first time I saw The Wizard, and actually the only times I've seen The Wizard because I haven't watched it afterward, dubbed in Italian. Yeah, sure, fine, have fun. I've never played it, but you can have fun. Portal. Talk about games that were overly hyped to me, and I understand people loved it. I have a very relationship with puzzle games, and this was I wanted to check it out, I wanted to play it, but then it started gathering in hype, and again, something within my sort of circle of friends at the time, and it just never, since it was also related to Half-Life, which again I didn't care for, it was never gonna happen for me. But hey, if you enjoyed it, more power to you, that's fine. Uncharted 2, among things. Talk about series I never have had any interest in or touched, whatever. Uncharted, definitely one of those things. I have nothing on it. I don't care. I understand it's maybe like a more modern sort of maybe Indiana Jones, but with less charisma. Oh shit, yet another series I know a lot about, but basically nothing about, because I do not understand what the fuck is going on in the Metal Gear series. I know there is time passing, and there's clones, and there's people's arms who get stitched onto other people's, or who get cloned around shit, or whatever the fuck. Look, if you can enjoy it, if you enjoy it, more power to you. Every video I've ever seen about any of the Metal Gear games have resulted in zero interest on my part to play them. Deus Ex, good to have this. I'm happy this is here. Never played it though. And you think I should have? and I should have. Reason why I didn't play it is it was released in 2000 and I definitely did not have a computer capable of playing it till the end of 2004, and at that time I was interested in playing completely different thing. Sometimes some shit just doesn't happen, and sometimes some shit just does happen. But from what I've read and what I've seen, Deus Ex is definitely the type of game that I would enjoy. I'm a big fan of cyberpunk in general and of RPGs, as I hope is well documented on the channel by now, and also of the various freedoms you have in this game. I did play Deus Ex Human Evolution and enjoyed that, but I know that's way streamlinier than this and way shootier than this. But even that one I played it with stealth and pheromones, obviously, because I like to talk, if this wasn't obvious enough. Hey, Shadow of the Colossus. Now this should definitely be on this list. It's old-ish. It's pretty old by now. Almost 20 years, so there's that. And I've only exclusively heard good things about this game from friends who've played it and from the internet in general. Due to its presence on the PlayStation, I never got around to it. The Outer Wilds, not the Outer Worlds, which is the Obsidian game. This is something different. Yeah, I remember seeing a trailer for this and saying it's gonna get definitely overshadowed by the Outer Worlds. So much so that I don't even know what it actually is about. I know what the idea of the Outer Worlds is, which I should also play, but nowadays I've kind of stopped playing a lot of new games and I play mostly older shit, unless the newer shit is some indie stuff that I'm interested in, like Songs of Conquest or Dune, Spice Wars, or the I don't know, things like that, or Battle Sector, of course. I'm gonna always make time for Battle Sector. Journey is something I've heard about. Again, in only the best of mentions and reviews. Never got around to play it because obviously it's on console. No console for me. But yeah, I think I from what I've seen about it, good stuff. The Last of Us Part 2, again, way too new of a game to be on this sort of a list. Same thing with Hades. Maybe it's gonna make it. Maybe it's gonna have a place on this list in at least 10 more years, let's say. But yeah, obviously I didn't play it because PlayStation. Hello, this is something I did play. Street Fighter 2 27. Okay, pretty much. I did play it in arcade, in the arcade a bit. Should be. I don't know where I would have put it, to be honest. But definitely should be on this list. This definitely has both the reputation and the age to be on such a list. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, we've talked earlier. I know nothing of these games. Pokemon, same shit. Minecraft, what? I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, this has to be here. Despite my passion for city building and basically what I call gamified spreadsheets, basically city builders, and in general management of resources and logistics chains, Minecraft yet again never appealed to me one iota. Nothing. Hey, Bioshock 1 is here. Okay, so we do have Bioshock, the first Bioshock. Look, it's a cool looking game. It has a super interesting setting. It does off-kilter things with what you can do in the game with its mechanics. The ending is pretty much it's telegraphed and kind of sucky when compared to the build-up, but hey, it is what it is. It's a really good game up until the ending, which is kind of mid, to be honest. Definitely here, definitely should be here. World of Warcraft. Now, talk about something I did play a lot of. Holy fuck. World of Warcraft definitely has a place on a list of the games best games of all time. Way too much to say about World of Warcraft for one video, especially a video that I've been talking about for like an hour and a half. Halo Combat Evolved. Halo, don't care. Elden Ring. This is way too new to be on such a game. Regardless how good the game is, you can't place something that was released last year on this type of a list. Like, just no. On a personal list, Sure. Subjective modern classics, sometimes you can tell. Sometimes you can tell. I was just a couple of hours into playing Nebuchadnezzar, and I could tell it's a personal subjective classic. The same with Dorfromantik and Tyranny. All three of these titles are my personal modern classics, but I wouldn't put any of them on this sort of a list. So no. Doom, definitely. I cannot imagine a list of top 100 games without fucking Doom on it, regardless how you feel about it. Personally, I preferred Heretic always. Played some Doom, finished Heretic. That just tells you a little bit about how I roll. But yeah, definitely, Doom has to be here. Super Mario 64. It's a Mario game. I haven't played it. I'ma skip it. Final Fantasy 7. Yes, this one I did actually play a little bit. I played the PC HD remake, and I did enjoy playing it. I'm not gonna say I didn't. I actually enjoyed playing it up until a certain point where I lost a bunch of progress, and because it had save points, and that shit is antiquated, obviously, for modern expectations. Again, from a modern player's perspective, regardless how much I play old games, I can also easily play them from a modern perspective. And if something sucks, I'll tell you something sucks, and save points fucking suck. From a modern perspective, also from the perspective of someone who isn't 14 anymore. Definitely, if I had the game when I was 14, I would have definitely played the shit out of it back then. Oh man, see Skyrim, it's definitely higher for popularity reasons, but again, my friends prefer Morrowind, and my friends are cooler than your friends. Red Dead Redemption 2. This was very popular. 2018, kinda new to be on this list again, according to me at least, but this one is at least 5 years oldish, so it can start getting into the discussion. It could start being brought into discussion about classics. I wouldn't consider it discussion worthy until it's 10 years old, but there's that. Didn't play it. I know a lot of people who did and enjoyed it. Wild West shit. Have fun. Super Mario, another Mario game, which means I didn't play it. Another Zelda game, which means I didn't play it. Disco Elysium. Now, there we are. Now, this is definitely something that I need to play. And this is definitely something that I should play, given the stuff that I normally play and the stuff that I talk about all the time, especially regarding computer RPGs and narrative interactivity and storylines and choice and shit like that. Unfortunately, this was released when I was 2019. I was in my second year of uni, which was that was a rough year. So I didn't really play a lot. I couldn't really dedicate myself to this. I played a bunch of many other things, which you can see basically documented on the channel, but not Disco Elysium. But I will have to play it eventually. It's we're in 2023. It's been 4 years. I'll probably give it another year. I'll probably play it next year. We'll see. Resident Evil 4. Now this was a very recently was in the news due to like a remake and some shit like that. Apparently, and I've read in the this Retro Gamer was this edition was dedicated to it, and I read a bit about it. And apparently, at release, when it was initially released, it was quite the revolutionary title for the series and for a bunch of other shit. Again, I didn't play it, but hey, if you enjoyed it, good on you. Half-Life 2. I've also played Half-Life 2, much like Half-Life 1. This one, unfortunately, weird story about Half-Life 2. This was the reason I initially installed Steam back in 2004. I didn't have a Steam account till then, and even then it wasn't because of the account, it was because it needed Steam to run. But I also played a cracked version, so yeah, at a certain point, due to the crack, it stopped working, and I never gave a shit. I never gave that much of a shit to continue it afterwards. And me and Half-Life, we do not see half eye to half eye. Dark Souls. One of these games definitely had to be here, whether it's the Dark Souls or the Demon Souls or whatever the fuck Souls, whichever one was the first or not the first, I never know. I've never played any of these, exactly ones, I've played Souls-like games. And thing is, I have enjoyed them. I have played the only Souls-like that was 3D and whatnot that I played and finished is called Mortal Shell. It's also an indie game, of course. And I've also played a fair few not 3D ones. Dark Devotion, which I mentioned earlier, which I think there's still a video about it. There's still a review of it on my channel. And there was another one, you could argue Blasphemous. Yeah, but not necessarily. And there's another one that's a bit more, that's isometric and kind of like cel shaded, and it's called Immortal Planet. Portal 2, same as Portal 1, rinse and repeat. Metal Gear Solid, same as the Metal Gear earlier, rinse and repeat. Mass Effect 2, just like the first Mass Effect, rinse and repeat. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. Now, I understand the game was popular, is popular. The series was also generally popular. I played the first one and really enjoyed the first one. I played the second one and I played the second one, and I never really cared afterwards that much to play the third one. And let me tell you this, after suffering through the first 3 episodes of season 1 of the Witcher show, I'm glad I didn't. So yeah, The Witcher 3, if you glad you enjoyed it, that's fair enough. I don't care. I care about I like the first one, and I will definitely cover it at a certain point for my Is It a Classic series. None of this 2 or 3 shit for me as far as I'm concerned. Bloodborne, okay. I mean, fair enough, it's different than Demon Souls, but why have 2 Souls likes? I don't know. Maybe the games are super different. Again, I haven't played either, so can't say. I think this is just because it was really big with streamers, maybe. Tetris, holy fuck. I am happy, I am relieved Tetris made it to the list. I was not expecting Tetris to make it to the list, on the list. There's very little I can say about Tetris, but I'll just say this. If I were to be asked, like a bunch of aliens, random aliens, ask me to explain what video games are, I'll show them and give them Tetris. That's my opinion about how importantly crucial and fundamental Tetris is to gaming in general. The Last of Us 2013. Okay, this one is at least 10 years old, so this one I could also discuss it in Is It a Classic. I didn't play it. I think isn't there a TV show relatively recently? So maybe it could be on this list. I really don't know. I really don't know. And of course, the first one is A Legend of Zelda, because there's a Zelda title that just showed up. Yeah, so this is pretty much bullshit. I said at the beginning of the video that if we make it to the end, and we made it to the end, yay. So I said at the beginning of the video that at the end of this video, I'll show you my list of stuff I consider truly classics, definitely worthy of being on a top 100 list. And well, I got one of them in there. So I got the first one, and the first one that starts would be Tetris. The other things I had would be StarCraft, Dune 2, one of the Heroes of Might and Magics, and or one of the Might and Magics, Caesar 3, Black and White or Populous, Wizardry or Ultima, one of them, I don't need, Wasteland or Fallout, and I don't mean 3 or New Vegas, and Diablo 1. Not 2, not 3, 1. The first one. Lists are cool when you have shit to learn from them, I think. I didn't learn a lot from this one. I've been Steven Nonsense. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.